Hey guys, welcome back to Monday Gunday. This is episode 6 featuring the CZ Shadow 2. This is a pretty neat handgun designed pretty much specifically for competition use, but that doesn't mean you can't carry it, and concealed carry holster makers can't make a review on it. So I was excited to do this one. Let's first start off with a little bit of history on the CZ Shadow 2. It is, believe it or not, part of the CZ Model 75 line. They designed the Model 75 back in the day and made a few variations of it, including the SP01, which they eventually made an SP01 Tactical and a few other models, and then finally the SP01 Shadow, which was more competition oriented, and a lot of people started adopting that for shooting sports. They got a lot of feedback from the competitors and from their audience, and they eventually decided to make some much needed improvements on the Shadow and come out with the Shadow 2. So some of those improvements that they made, first off, this is an all steel 9mm pistol. Some of the improvements that they made on the Shadow 2 coming from the SP01 Shadow were a higher beaver tail, a trigger guard undercut for some ergonomics, getting higher up on the grip of that gun. They added a contoured slide, more aggressive slide serrations, and just overall better ergonomics. They basically made all these improvements to make this gun more shootable, easier to shoot, flatter, softer feeling, and overall this gun shoots very well and shoots very soft. It is a heavy gun, which plays into that, but we will get into the specific weight here in a second. Like I mentioned previously, this is an all steel firearm. It is very heavy. It comes in your standard CZ hard case, which we unfortunately do not have with us anymore. Otherwise we would show you that and everything that it comes with. I will say it does come with 3 17-round magazines. Doesn't come with a whole lot other than that. Some of the other things it comes with doesn't come with a whole lot, but it does come with a couple of tools, just like Allen keys, to change out some grips. And the magazine release button here, you can extend it. There's different positioning you can do for that depending on your hand size and what you need out of that. It also comes with an extended safety lever if you want a more a bigger, more tactile safety there. But this is a double action, single action pistol, and I think most people shooting this particular model aren't really messing around with the safety a whole lot for competition, or if you're going to carry it or whatever. A lot of people will go into double action for the first shot, and then with that slide reciprocating, the next shots will be single action. Let's get into the cost of this pistol. There are a few different models you can get. There is this one, which is the blue model, or some people might call it the black and blue one. There's an orange one, basically just has orange grips and a couple other upgrades. I believe it comes with a mag well. There's also an urban gray model, and these all typically run, depending on which one you get, between about 1,100 MSRP and 1,500. I believe the orange is even a little bit more expensive than this. You can also get this one in a single action only, but I believe this particular model, it was the MSRP right around 1,100. So the weight of this firearm is 46.5 ounces unloaded, so very heavy, almost 3 pounds, I believe. The length is 8.53 inches with a 4.89 inch barrel, so almost 5-inch barrel. And like I said, the standard capacity is 17 plus 1 in the chamber. So there you have it, the CZ Shadow 2. Now we will head out to the range and we will put it through our 3 standard drills and see how it stacks up against the other guns we have reviewed. We will be checking out the trigger, the sights, recoil management, reloads, just a lot of the fundamentals and ergonomics of this pistol. So let's go out to the range. Okay, we are out at the range now. We have the CZ Shadow 2, and I am carrying it in an MSP Flex holster with the Surefire X300 Ultra weapon light. We don't, like I mentioned before, we don't offer specific Shadow 2 holsters, but the MSP series of universal holsters based off the light, those work really well for this. So we will run through our 3 standard drills, starting with a back-to-back billet drill at 7 yards, then a back-to-back 3 reload 3 at 7 yards, and then we'll go back to 10 yards and put up a B8 target and run that for a score out of 100. So we'll time the first couple drills. Last one won't be timed, so we'll be shooting a IPSC A zone as always. So let's go back to 21 feet. And I could run this single action with the safety, but I feel like what most people would do is run decocked double action for the first shot, and then into single action. Either way, it probably won't be super pretty. Okay. Are you ready? Yes. Stand by. That was a practice one. Okay. Stand by. Okay, that looks all clean in a, oh man, okay, a 262. I accidentally bumped it, so it registered a 7th shot, but the 6th shot was in 262, so pretty slow for a billet drill. Those first double action shots are difficult. Okay. Stand by. That one was a touch faster, 258. So not great. Both of those were clean, but if we were to look at the first shot, yeah, that string of fire, my first round, broke at a 156, so painfully slow, but that's that long, hard, heavy first double action trigger press. So let's run into some 3 R3s. Set up for that real quick. Once again, going double action on that first round. Stand by. Oh. It's getting a little carried away. Went 4 rounds on the, after the reload there. But, so total times of 521. But if we look at where the 6th shot went off, that was a 497. So that's the time we are looking at, just to keep it consistent with a 3R3, not a 3R4, because I'm an idiot. But that was clean. So set it up for one more go. Reload wasn't too bad considering no magwell, so. But you can throw down some spicy reloads, no magwell. Just ask our friend and fellow teammate, Clark Shooter. Okay, she is ready to go. Stand by. Okay, grip was a little sloppy on that one. I believe it was still clean in a time of 4:65. So not bad, not great. Could probably shave off like half a second with that first double action trigger press, but that's one thing that I would need a lot of work at improving. I'm no Ernest Langdon or any of those other double action studs out there. Go check out Langdon Tactical. Oh yeah, let's check the target. So a couple line breakers, but I mean, everything is in the A zone. These are the majority of the way in, so I don't love it because it was slow, but I don't hate it. We'll put up a B8 and shoot the 10-yard B8. Okay, we got the official B8 target up here. We'll go back to 10 yards. And since we're just working on the trigger press, the sights, going for accuracy only, I will be doing everything from a single action. So let's go back. And again, this is 10 rounds, going for a score of 100. Each shot's worth 10 points. Okay. Kind of on a weird rut. Okay, nice single action trigger, good sights. Like I had mentioned before, the adjustable rear sight's awesome, crisp fiber optic front sight, all things we like. So just barely squeaked out a perfect score of 100 there. That line breaker counts as 10 points, so the X ring and 10 ring, 10 points, 10 shots in there. So pretty good point of aim, point of impact at 7 and 10 yards. You know, if you're shooting a lot past that, at 15, you can adjust for that. You can drift for windage, and elevation is just a simple screw. So pretty sweet. Great trigger on these. Right out of the box, these things are awesome, especially if you're competing in like a production class or something like that in shooting sports. I mean, you can get by without doing any modifications to this. Great gun. So awesome sights, awesome trigger. Wish I had a mag well, but you know, we got through that. What else? Recoil management on the bill drills and the 3R3, like, you know, it's a super smooth flat shooting gun. And if you have good, proper mechanics and a good grip and you know how to shoot, you shouldn't have any problem. I mean, it's real heavy, it's all steel. So let's head back to the armory and we'll get a score for you. Okay, we are back from the range. And let's break down our final thoughts and our score for this gun. Once again, if you're new to this series, we do 10 categories, all worth 10 points. That would be a perfect score for a total score of 100. So this will be based off of that 100-point scale. First off, we will talk about cost. For this CZ Shadow 2, I am giving this a 6 out of 10 for cost. It is expensive, though it is not as expensive as some other competition-oriented pistols, but it's pretty expensive, especially depending on the model you get and where you get it, if you get it new. Some of them can be hard to find, especially if you want something that's like optic ready, something like this. This particular model is not, which is unfortunate, but this is what we had available, so that is getting a 6. Next up, we have Ergonomics. This one's doing a little bit better as far as ergonomics go. I liked shooting this, although it is still getting a 7 out of 10 for ergonomics. It's good, it's not bad, especially if you don't have super small hands. One of the common complaints I've heard people talk about is it with small hands getting to that slide release or slide stop lever. Especially if you have the extended safety lever here, it might be a little difficult to get your dominant thumb over there. But overall, I have large hands. There's a ton of aftermarket support as far as grips and magazine extensions, triggers, you know, all the controls, tons of aftermarket support. So, but stock as is, the ergonomics are good, not great though. Next up, we have trigger, which is also getting a 7. It's a good trigger. The double action is very long and heavy and not insanely smooth. I didn't get like an official pull weight on the double action, but it is long and heavy. It's not the worst one I've ever used, but it's definitely not the best. Once you get past that, the single action is short, fairly crisp, reset's good, but all in all, the whole trigger picture leaves you wanting a little bit more. Hence the huge aftermarket support for this particular model of firearm. And I mean, that goes without saying, any popular competition gun is going to have that. So that's why it's only getting a 7. Next up, we have the bore axis. Good, not great, could be better. They did improve that though, coming into the Shadow 2 from the SPO1 Shadow. It's such a heavy gun that it almost doesn't even matter. And it shoots soft. It's got a good recoil system in there. So it's also getting a 7. It could be better, but also it could be a lot worse. Sights. This one's getting an 8. I did like the sights. Turned out to be a very accurate gun, as you saw on the B8 drill. Granted, it's only at 10 yards and I'm taking my time, but I really want to ensure good sight alignment to that X-ring and good trigger press. The fiber optics here, especially if you're shooting in the daylight, are super bright, super easy to pick up. It's got a good rear sight. It's adjustable like I mentioned before. You can drift it for windage, which you're probably not gonna mess with that much, but the main thing is elevation, and depending on the ammo you use and where you want to fine tune your distance, right? So I didn't have to mess with any of that for 7 and 10 yards. It was all point of aim, point of impact, super accurate there. Next category, aftermarket support. I've mentioned this a little bit in the previous categories. This is getting a score of a 9 out of 10. There's tons of aftermarket support. You can get all sorts of different grips, extensions, you know, the trigger things, internals, slides, springs, barrels, like sights, you name it. You can customize this thing as much as you want. There's so much out there for it, which is awesome. If you can find one of these for around $1,000 and spend a few $100 getting it just right for you, like that ends up being pretty sweet. So if this were me and I was using this for competition, I'd definitely switch out a few things. So that's a cool option that you have. That's why it's getting a 9 out of 10. Next up, we have round capacity. It does come with 3 rounds, 17 plus 1. Contrary to popular belief, it does come with 3 magazines. 3 magazines, that doesn't matter. The magazines that it comes with hold 17 rounds plus 1 in the chamber. So that's pretty standard for a full-size firearm, nothing special there. I would like to see a full-size firearm come out with a standard cap magazine at like 20 or 21. That'd be pretty rad, but seems like everybody's sticking with like 17 or 18. So pretty standard. It's getting a score of a 7. Serviceability is our next category, and again, this one is also getting a 7. It is fairly easy to field strip. I didn't go into any more detailed breaking down further than that, but to field strip it, all you need is a punch. To remove this slide stop lever, you have to line up these notches back here by pulling the slide back maybe 1/4 of an inch, and then pushing out this lever, and then you can bring the slide off, get the barrel and the recoil spring out and all that good stuff. So pretty easy, and these are fairly common in the competition realm. So serviceability is good. That's why it's getting a 7. Value is up next. So like I mentioned before, it doesn't come with a whole lot in the box, which is going to decrease the value score. It is a fairly expensive pistol, especially compared to the ones we've reviewed so far. Granted, for a competition pistol and a good one, it's not super bad. It's getting a 6. The box isn't great. 3 mags, doesn't really come with much else. No mag well. It's not optic cut. It didn't have any spare fiber optics in there. Pretty much the only thing you're getting is an extended safety, which for a lot of people that is irrelevant. They're not gonna really use that. So at least it comes with 3 mags though. So it's only getting a 6 for value. Okay, now we come to our final category, and that is cool factor. And this one is the most subjective rating that we are giving out of all of them. And this one is strictly up to me. So hopefully we don't hurt any feelings when we talk about our cool factor or our score for the cool factor. This one's getting a 7. I think it looks cool. It's a heavy gun, which is cool. It's a full-size gun, which is cool. But doesn't have all the things that I like in a gun, especially one that I'm going to carry or try to perform very well with. Take that with a grain of salt, because a lot of people are getting this to shoot in like a production class in shooting sports. So you can't really use those other things like an optic or a magwell or anything crazy fancy. It needs to come as is from the factory, be mass produced, you know, all those good things. But that's going to lower the cool factor score for me. I want an optic cut, I want a magwell, and I want the slide to be easier to rack. This amount of slide that you get above the frame where you can actually grasp it is very minimal. It's a common complaint with the Shadow 2, but overall getting a 7 for cool factor. And that brings us to our total out of 100. This one is getting a score of a 71. So hopefully we will have some sort of chart we will be able to pull up and show you how that ranks against the other guns that we have shot. It's definitely not at the top, but I don't think it's at the bottom either. I don't know all those scores that we have, but I did enjoy shooting it. It's a fun gun, especially in its class, right? So there you have it, the CZ Shadow 2. I liked it. It wasn't fantastic, but it was fun to shoot and fun to get some reps downrange. So let us know if there are other guns you would like us to review. We do have a list. We've been getting a lot of comments, a lot of suggestions. Keep it up. We will try to get to all of those. I don't know if we will be able to, but hopefully we'll get to some. And as always, check out our website for holsters. Oh yeah, one thing I did forget to mention is the holster when I talked about aftermarket support. Especially if you're shooting competition, there's tons of holsters there, right? So what I used, as you saw in the range portion, was the MSP Pro Series Flex holster, which if you're trying to conceal this firearm, this is pretty much your only option right now. I was using the Surefire X300 Ultra Light to accommodate the holster. This is universal based off the light, right? So the mags fit great and the gun fit great with the light. Everything worked well. So I was able to conceal it and draw out of that holster. So if you're wanting to run something like this concealed, check this out. Link will be in the description below. And as always, stay safe, stay strapped, and we will catch you next time.